Matt, thank you for taking some time today. We're so grateful that Stonebrook Community Church here in Ames has connected with the Baptist Convention in Iowa, and we'd like to take a few minutes to get to know you and the church and some of the thinking behind the decision to affiliate with the BCI.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, introduce yourself.
So my name is Matt Heerma. I'm one of 6 pastor elders at Stonebrook Church. Stonebrook is about 50 years old as a congregation, started in 1972. Back then, a group came up from Kansas City and evangelized on campus. It was the Jesus movement. That sort of thing was happening all over the place, and we're one of those. And the legend goes about 100 people professed Christ that week of campus outreach, and so 2 of the group from Kansas City stayed behind and formed something they started calling the ISU Bible Study. Some people might know that name, for better or worse, back in the day, and that was the roots of what became eventually Stonebrook Community Church. And so that's where we came from. Over the years, there's been many pastors come and gone. Stonebrook desires to be, anyway, a church planting church, and so you have pastors raised up in-house and then sent off on church plants, and so it's evolved over the years as far as leadership and style, and now we're off campus and over here in North Ames in a building, and have been for 20 years now, and so that's kind of the genesis of the church. We're about 300 people pre-COVID, and I think we're still there now, but about half of them have come back to the building for in-person services. Yep.
So I was listening to your message on Sunday in Acts 15, and I appreciated the way you handled the word, and you weren't trying to find something in there, but you were teaching from there. And so that fits well with us, of course. And I also noticed you referring back to Paul's missionary journeys and back to the beginning in Acts 1:8. And so I'd like to hear more about the philosophy, mission, strategy, even history of Stonebrook and missions, both locally and internationally.
Absolutely. So, part of the way Stonebrook and its sister churches got started was a desire to go back to Scripture and just be the New Testament church to the degree you can be 2,000 years later. And of course, one of the things they saw there was Matthew 28:19 through 20, the Great Commission. And so the group of churches became, they took on the name Great Commission Churches. And as a group that formally dissolved this summer. But Great Commission, go therefore, make disciples of all the nations. And pairing that with Acts 1:8, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the remotest parts of the earth. So I think there's been this Great Commission heartbeat behind the church, or at least that's where we desire to be. So mission, we grew up on campus and really consider ourselves a campus-facing church. So campus ministry has always been a big part of our mission. And one of the interesting things, of course, about campus is that the nations come to the campus. And so we do have also a thriving international student ministry, thanks to the hard work of a few Americans in-house who are working hard at making disciples there, and a growing campus fellowship as well. So those are probably our 2 primary modes of mission. And we, of course, I said too, we desire to be a church planting church. And so most recently we planted in Rochester, Minnesota. And that church has taken root and it's growing as well. So that about a church every 2 years, by the way, on average, has been kind of our history. Now, the last, I should say, is a 40, 50-year-old church that was definitely condensed. The average was definitely weighted heavily to the first 20 years. Last 20 has sort of slowed down somewhat. And we're looking to sort of reboot that, kick that back up. But I say, church planting, campus ministry, and then, of course, everyday discipleship in the Word here among the community. So, yeah.
All right, so let's go back to Acts 15 again. In part of your message, you were talking about, the Council of Jerusalem, where 2 groups were together. And there was a sense where they were saying the old ways we're going to celebrate them, but we need to move forward in a new kind of structure. I don't know if there's any analogy for that at all. But yeah, let's hear you mentioned the Great Commission Church dissolving. Talk about that and how you ended up contacting us to affiliate with the Baptist Convention of Iowa.
Sure. So Great Commission churches, the denomination has been around since the mid 80s, I believe. The group has been around since the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, but formally sort of associated as a denomination. Then there was basically a leadership. Most of the men at the top level of leadership were retiring, and there wasn't a handoff of leadership that was successful over the last 8 to 10 years. And so, we spent the last year, 2 years in a season of discernment, what should become of this denomination. And it was just decided, we have brethren roots kind of in our church DNA. And so local church autonomy is a big deal. And so that was sort of, let's the National Association said, let's commend the churches to the grace of God, like they did, like Paul did to the Ephesians church in Acts. And so that was the language that was used. So the official denomination dissolved, but desiring to be part of something bigger than our local church. Yes, local churches are autonomous, but that's just not a sufficient way of acting. Partnership for mission was what we were looking for, and we did kind of a survey. Many of us are already very familiar with the different denominations that are out there, but we did some due diligence in examining some of the other denominations, and we just found a like-mindedness in BCI with especially local church autonomy, church planting, scriptural inerrancy, complementarianism, and all the other things in the Baptist faith message.
Right,
So,
sure.
that off the top of my mind. I think that's why we were really drawn there. I think the local church autonomy and the desire to partner for the Great Commission, that's kind of what we had previously, and what we see, we can have this now, and even better, I think, more and more. So this seems to be the way forward for us. Yep.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you for the time today. We're really grateful to connect, looking forward to ministry together, church planting, reaching this community and beyond. So it's great to be partners with you. Thank you for connecting with the Baptist Convention of Iowa.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having us.